Hello, welcome everyone to another Paraty em Foco interview. Paraty em Foco is an international photography festival that happens in the colonial, beautiful city of Paraty, which is a small little town between São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Paraty em Foco started in 2005. Giancarlo Meccarelli, Italian-Brazilian photographer, fell in love with Paraty, and he had the idea of doing a photo festival in Paraty. And it's one of the most important festivals in Brazil and South America. And today we have an immense pleasure to interview and to be with two people from Oslo, Norway. Helene Gulaker Hansen. She's the owner of the curator of Shoot Gallery. She was born in Norway. She has a master in international marketing and a bachelor in arts from the St. Martin's in London. She's the curator and the owner of Shoot Gallery, like I said, which is the first private gallery of Oslo dedicated to fine art photography. It opened in 2013, so 7 years ago. And we'll be interviewing, Helene and I will be interviewing Dag Alveng, who was also born in Oslo in 1953. He's a very well-known photographer in Norway, in Europe, and in New York. He lived in New York for many years. And he's in the collection of very, very important museums, like the Museum of Modern Art and the Metropolitan Museum in New York, the Stadsdijk in Amsterdam, and many others. He published many books. Asylum in '87, Shipyard at the Solahamnsviken in 1990, Layers of Light, which is a beautiful title, in 1995, The Summer of Light, another beautiful title, in 2001, Race in 2012, and Wise in 2015. He lived in New York City from 1986 to 1996, and he's currently living in Oslo, his hometown. So, Helene and Doug, very much welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm in São Paulo. You are in Oslo. We have about a 5-hour difference, and this is one of the amazing aspects of this new world that we are living of, not pandemic world, but this world of being online and being able to interview someone so far away, and at the same time feeling so. Welcome, and please, Helene, I would like first to ask yourself, ask you to introduce a little bit of yourself and talk about this beautiful art gallery, photo gallery that you have in Oslo. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Paulo. Thank you. Welcome to Shoot Gallery. And of course, thank you so much for inviting us to your festival. And it's the first time. I wish I was in Brazil, but we'll be there next year.
Yes.
Sure.
Or we can bring the Paraty em Foco to Oslo too.
Oh, that would be lovely. Yeah.
We can do a combo.
That would be great. And we could bring in this lovely technology as well, as we are learning so much now.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Okay, I will start talking a little bit about Shoot Gallery. I'm in the gallery now. It's an abandoned old gas station, but it didn't start out here. We started 7 years ago in 2013. And I wanted to establish a scene of the best of Norwegian and international fine art photography. The art scene in Norway is tiny. We are only 5 million people.
In the whole country?
Yes, in the whole country. In Oslo.
So that's half of São Paulo?
Half of São Paulo.
Yes.
Exactly. Because in Oslo, there's only 1 million. So it's a small, it's the capital, but it's a small city. Out of 1 million, you get the quite small art markets.
Yes.
Which also means that it matures quite slowly. And in 2013, when I walked around in the galleries and I saw photography, I mostly saw what we call camera-based fine art, quite conceptual and a bit dry for my taste. And I long to see, because I also have a background as a photographer, I long to see the masters of photography, the ones who perceived photography as an instrument of perception, strong visuals, technically impressive. This is very important to me. I really love seeing the masters perform. And also, I would long for it to be breathtakingly beautiful and so leaving an impression in both your mind and your body, and without you having to read actually 500 words to understand what you're looking at. So this is the kind of photography that I wanted to show, and to give a signal to the market to what they could expect, I decided the opening show would be fashion photography.
Yeah, well, fashion photography is still not perceived as fine art photography for many people.
I know, and indeed in Norway it was not at the time in 2013, even though history is full of them. Huge, amazing photographers. We have Lee Miller, we have Sarah Irving Penn, Paulo Richard Avedon.
Richard Avedon, yes. Masters, you're talking about masters.
Masters.
We can even go a little bit back in time, a little further back in time. And Man Ray, for example, was an incredible fashion photographer and a surrealist.
Oh, Man Ray was amazing. And he worked together with Lee Miller.
Yes, they work very closely, if you know what I mean. So I hear.
She was his assistant, I believe. Yeah.
Among other things.
We did the Lee Miller show here 1 year ago. It was a huge success. Beautiful.
And she's a very interesting example, because she started as a model, and then she became a photographer, a fashion photographer, and did all kinds of photography. And then her work was, after a while, was perceived not as a fashion photography or as a documentary photography, but as fine art photography.
Yes.
Interesting. Beautiful. She had a beautiful face.
Yeah, well, she was beautiful. She was a beautiful woman, and very interesting. She had many careers. She ended up a career as a cook, a chef.
Cook, yes.
Yes. She's made a wonderful cooking book, a TV cook actually. So she got quite famous on television as her third and final career. Amazing woman.
That's what you can call multitask woman.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, Helene, I think we can see the video now. The video that shows the exhibition, the fashion photography exhibition that started not only Shoot Gallery, but it started a whole movement of looking at fine art photography in a different way in Oslo and Norway, from what I understand.
Yes. Because I've decided my opening show would be with the Norwegian fashion photographer Sølve Sundsbø. He has had an amazing international success for the past 20 years. And we went through his work, and we picked up some of his most impressive work and put this together as a solo show. Very strong, very colorful, very expressive work. We got a huge amount of visitors and a lot of press, and there was a discussion whether photography could be fine art photography, if they should be allowed into a fine art gallery and such.
which is a very update discussion still.
Yeah, you think so? Still, we are discussing this.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah. For me, it's always about the image,
Yes.
the imagery. So if there is one image expressing this level of mastery and is lifted up to come to contain existential questions, and it becomes a piece of art.
Yes, indeed.
Matter if it's made from a commercial starting point or where it comes from, as long as this piece of work is on this level.
Yes. Helene, do you think that this show, this fashion photography show, helped to bring new people to the gallery?
Yes, I think so.
A new public, a new public. That's what I'm saying. Because a lot of people perceived fashion photography as something that's not as frightening as fine art photography.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I agree. It's inviting, and you can understand what you are looking at. It's very often, it's very immediate. You can walk directly into it, and it was easy also, I think, for the public to discuss it, have an opinion about it, without having a lot of knowledge from before. It just used their own perception to express how they saw the work. And
they kind of felt that was a subject closer to them.
Yeah, exactly. Well put. Yeah.
So we're talking about fashion photography and how important that was for the launching of the gallery, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you became famous very immediately, almost.
Yeah, in a way, I was put on the radar in a way. So if you were interested in photography, you would have heard about the gallery. So it was a great start, and I felt that I can go anywhere from here. Now I can show whatever, and to have the attention, which was partly true because I continued showing international artists. I showed Stephen Gill, I showed Smolyansky, Julia Hetta. Great photographers, great artists, already established in galleries outside Norway. But what I did discover was that the Norwegian market wasn't quite ready. New names, new visuals, new pictures. And then I decided to start to more look into the Norwegian artists. And this is when Dag Alveng walked into my gallery on the vernissage. That was in 2015. And he was so curious, he had to come and see what was going on here. And we had a great start, and we have been working together now for 15 years. I was really happy to see Dag because he has been a very important artist for developing of the photographic market in the art scene. He started the first gallery. He actually started the first photo gallery in Norway in 1977.
Really?
Yes.
That is very groundbreaking.
Yeah, you should ask him about that.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
We are seeing some of his photographs in the show he did at the Shoot Gallery, right? First show.
This is for no. This is the previous. This is the one we did in March that we're looking at now. Palladio songs from Italian architect Palladio, 500 buildings, beautiful work. And the thing,
Palladio is the architect from the 16th century, right?
Yes, exactly. In Italy, they keep them, they maintain them, so they stand up still like museums. And I'm sure Dag could talk a bit more about that. It's a beautiful series, beautiful work, where you can really see the uniqueness of his work. He's one of the few photographers who still work with 8x10 analog camera, a Derdorf camera, and actually doing the printing himself by hand in the darkroom, which very few photographers do this now, or are able to do it. It takes years and years of training.
It's almost a vintage approach to photography.
Yes, it is. Some of them, we call them photographic oil paintings. They are so rich and unique when you have this handcrafted prints. I really love that.
And this very, very large format camera, 8x10, is about 20 to 25 centimeters. It has such a richness in the image.
Very, yes. And I'm sure he's going to talk a bit about the approach, how his work is very, very different from working with a digital camera. And I think you can really see that in his work. It's a different feeling of time. I'm standing still, yeah.
I think Doug's here with us, and maybe we can talk to him a little bit.
Yeah, let's do that.
He is our main attraction.
Thank you.
So, Doug, welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And Helene was talking about the 8x10 cameras and the richness of the image. And do you have your camera with you?
Yes. Actually, I have it right here.
Oh, good. It's an art piece in itself.
Yeah, it's like a piece of furniture.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful camera.
Yep. So this is what I work with. But it has taken me a long while to get to understand how to do all of that. In a dark room where I have a fairly big dark room with an enlarger that goes on rail.
All right.
And and a projected
you make
on the wall.
large prints. You make large prints.
Yeah, I make large prints, and I wet mount them.
Oh, I see.
So so that they're very hard to mount. I think wet mounting is the only way to do it. But
so you project the image on the wall, not on the table. So big deal.
Yeah, I project them on the wall, and it's taken me a long time to go there. I started off with a medium format camera, but I always I always realized in a way the potential of a big camera. But a camera is a tool, and you use whatever you need to serve the purpose. And so occasionally I use digital cameras or smaller cameras, but and it's a totally different way of working. If you work with a digital camera, it's point and shoot. Whereas when I work with a big camera, it's more like meditation.
Yes, meditation. It's very interesting approach, because when we talk about photography, either if it's digital or analog, we're always talking about time, and the time of doing analog photograph is very different from the digital one.
Yep.
So meditation is a good way to put it. It's very precise, I would say.
Yeah. When I started, I started off many years ago when I was 10 years old, and photography was always my passion. And I saw this beautiful magazine made in Switzerland called Camera. I was edited by Alan Porter in Switzerland, and he showed all of the great masters in the early 70s. Diane Arbus, Cartier-Bresson, Stephen Shore, William Eggleston, and that was in a way, my nutrition every month, because there were not that many photographers in Norway at that time who had, this interest. And so I actually went down to Switzerland because I was wondering where to go and what to do. So I went down to Switzerland, and he said, there is a good school in Nottingham, Trent Polytechnic, and so I went straight there, and they had an American teacher called Thomas Joshua Cooper, who's still working and doing great work, and one of the heroes of that place was Minor White.
Minor White.
Yeah, who's actually someone who meditated and made a philosophy of photography and meditation. And as a curriculum at that time, we had Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yes, beautiful book. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And a very, very awkward, off the wall title, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. How can someone connect those two things? But
exactly.
He did.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also a book called Zen in the Art of Archery. Archery, when you shoot with bow and arrow, you should imagine that you are the arrow, and find your way to the goal. So meditation and photography was, a strong influence at that school in England. It was a very good school, and I learned a lot. So I'm grateful to Alan Porter, who sent me there. He could have told me to go to Düsseldorf to study with Bernd and Hilda Becker.
Yes.
That would be a different road.
Yeah.
Oh yes, totally.
Totally
No meditation there, I think.
No.
Very different approach.
Yeah.
Even though they're incredibly important.
Yes, incredibly important. And
yes.
In a way,
and I think you mentioned in one of the talks we had before the interview that one of your favorite photographers is Robert Adams.
Oh, totally. Yes. He wrote something very wonderful also about my work in my book called Summer Light. Yes, I think he's a wonderful photographer and a wonderful person.
But let me ask Theo to show some of your pictures here.
Thank you.
This is one of your famous photographs, right? One of the most known.
Yes, it's a very well-known photograph. I think it's been published actually in Asia, North America, South America, Europe. I think all over the world, actually. Sorry?
I wonder why it's so famous. Has to do with the shoes, I'm sure.
Yes. It's a fashion shoot.
Yes.
No, it's in a way there is a word called memorability. I think Roland Barthes talked about memorability and also hook. You know, you're hooked because you see something that's surprising. So first you have this surprise. You know, you see something that you, in a way, is unexpected. And then you have the memorability. It sticks to your mind. And I think that this photograph has a lot of that. For many different reasons. I mean, obviously you see, well, first of all, there's a naked person, except for the shoes.
Except for the shoes, yes.
And then you see that the water is very shallow. And then you see a cable release, you know, and you realize that it's, and it's also the title of the photograph. The photographer shoots himself. You know,
which has a double meaning.
Yes. So it's a selfie.
Yeah, you can say that.
But it was a very lucky, because I only did it once because the water was shallow, and you know, I didn't want to do it too many times. But I was very lucky. You know, one exposure and that was it.
You didn't get hurt, right?
No, I managed to, you know, kick off and get into deeper water.
You know,
So,
this image reminds me very much of the Yves Klein photograph, that famous one of him jumping off a wall. But there's a very, very important difference between those two images.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that?
Yes. Yes. I mean, that's a wonderful photograph. You know, a man suspended in clean air. But I understand later that it's. I mean, later I've learned that it's a montage, and that he actually has a mattress that he falls off. So I didn't have a mattress, but
you had the one. But it has that same tension, I think, the same friction, the same unexpected movement of that body.
Yes, and frozen in time.
Frozen in times.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is what photography is all about. Huh?
Yes.
Helene, would you like to comment on that, the previous photograph of the photographer shooting himself?
Yeah.
I know you're a huge fan of Dag's work and of this photograph specifically.
Yes. Well, it's talking about timing. It's a picture. It's impossible to repeat or to copy because the timing is unbelievable. And I think you will find this in all Norwegian books about fine art history, not only photography, but in art history. Whenever someone writes something about photography, Norwegian artists, you will find this image. And I have a separate room here in the gallery where I show different photographers, always one or two pieces from different series. And this image is here. Everyone who comes in there have seen this image before. They know it. Everyone knows it.
So it became an icon of Norwegian contemporary art.
Very much, yeah. This is Norwegian photography.
It became the icon of Norwegian photography. Yeah,
it is.
So, Theo, let's see the next photograph. I think that's from your book, Summer Light, right, Dag?
Yes. I started when I came back from England in the late 70s. I started playing a lot with my camera and with ideas in photography, you know, like the one of myself falling in the water. And I photographed during vacation. And, you know, it's about, actually Robert Adams said that poetry makes nothing happen. And it's in this relaxed situation, you know, people are like in their own thoughts, very, very relaxed. Yeah, this is the summer house in springtime before it opens.
It has a kind of a family feeling to it.
Yes, I photographed, during vacation, and I saw these relaxed people at our summer house, and but asleep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, typically of this series. It's about the Norwegian summer light. And the images are very lightly, they're almost like bleached out. It's almost like I'm printing them as if when you're asleep in the landscape and open your eyes, then sometimes you see that the landscape is like completely bleached out. And I try to recreate that feeling when I print them.
It's almost an overexposure.
Yeah, it's almost overexposure.
Yeah. And summer, this time of the year in Norway, summer has a very different meaning than summer in, let's say, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Yes. Yes. I mean, basically, the Norwegian winter is very gray and cold, and these days in the summer heat, they're so precious to us. They're so few, so that we appreciate them more probably than
they are very expected.
Yes, if more than if the weather is warm all year round.
Doug, can you talk a little bit about this picture? It's a very well-known photograph of yours too, and it's so interesting. This open gate and this landscape in the back.
Yes, yes, I think that's one of my most popular photographs, and I still appreciate it a lot myself. And since I've been looking at it for 40 years now, I'm starting to I think I have an idea about what makes it attractive, because you see, well, first of all, it's a gate that is either open or closed, but I think you perceive, some people think that it's a gate that somebody forgot to close, actually. But if you have horses, you don't want them to escape. But I think that it has a promise. It's an open gate, and you can go out into the landscape. And also, it's a little bit absurd in the sense that it's, why is this fence in the middle of a field?
Yeah,
It doesn't seem logical. And it's a very ordinary fence that everybody in Norway knows. So it's familiar, but it's like from a different time now. So that has a little bit of nostalgia about it too.
Oh, I see.
But but also I think that there is this feeling. I mean, basically, it's because I have my camera I used at that time. I used a Rolleiflex camera that I looked down into, and it means that the viewpoint is like a child's. So the point of view is like a 10-year-old. So it reminds you, I think, of your childhood. Because because it has that particular vantage point.
Yes.
So I think that it has the promise of summer more than anything.
And even though you don't see anybody, you feel the movement of somebody going through the gate. So, which is something that it's very interesting when it happens in a photograph, that you perceive a human being or many human beings, but they are not there. They are not in the picture, but they are in the event.
Yes, that's very right, Paulo. It's I think a lot of my work has that quality that you feel that there is a human very close by, you know, and yeah, it's not like you're in the wilderness with no one else around. It's like you feel that there are other people close to you. I think
it's a little bit like meditation. You don't see it, but you feel it.
Yes.
And this was such interesting. It has that person in that like beach stretcher, I think.
Yeah. You are now showing the picture that that I think is a photograph of nothing. It's like everything is happening along the edges of the photograph. There are leaves and there is a pair of legs, and actually if you go close and see in the original, you can see some naked breasts. And there is a table, and you can see the white dot from where the umbrella should have been. And you see a kettle, and everything in that photograph is happening along the edges of the photograph, and in the middle there's just space. And sometimes I think that I'm photographing nothing. So the question is, what is nothing? And I think nothing to me then is the space between objects, between things. And I think that's you know, an interesting.
So an image full of nothingness.
Yes. Yes.
So a photograph that's full of nothingness has a lot happening.
Right.
Even though it looks like nothing.
Yes. Like Robert Adams said, poetry makes nothing happen.
Yeah.
So poetic photographs makes nothing happen.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's something like between events.
Yes.
That moment between events.
Yes.
And this was, it's absolutely summer light. Like you're saying, that you print very lightly and almost bleached out.
Yes.
And the two girls are very blonde too, which adds another layer of white.
Yes. She's trying on, it's called cherry. I mean, she's trying on cherry earrings.
Cherry earrings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also a very popular photograph.
Very, very ecological, we could say, earrings.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's a different series, huh?
Yeah, the girl in the dress. Yeah, that's from a series in New York, where I actually photographed. For 12 years, I did nothing but double exposures. You know, I tried, but on the same film. So I just took one picture and then I put another picture on top of it. But in a way, I consider it straight photography because it's on one piece of film, and it has to, you know, it's not like it's photoshopped or it's anything like that. So, and to me, at that time, I was working a lot with advertising, and to me, it's interesting this element of change and of chance. also. So, and I think New York was very inviting in terms of that, because things happen very quickly.
And in unpredictable fashion, just like New York.
Yes.
New York is very unpredictable.
Yes.
And Doug, do you think that when you move to New York, which is some people say it's the capital of the world, you know, everything conveys to New York, everything goes to New York, you know, it's almost like a modern age Rome. Do you think, and coming from a much smaller city in a 5 million country, you know, like Norway, do you think that you had a totally different relationship? You had to build a different relationship with this immense city. Do you think that influenced your photograph in a way? Your photography?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. Because I came to New York and, you know, I was curious, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. In Norway, I did the summer light photographs and other photographs of, you know, in a way, intimacy. And I never thought I would be a street photographer. But when I came to New York, I just started to go around, and as a photographer, it was very natural for me to just, you know, finally, you know, bring my camera outside, and I started to shoot. And I think that it was New York that absolutely triggered that. So for a long time, I was shooting with my Rolleiflex camera, and then I started using a handheld speed graphic camera.
Oh, really?
And so
a 4x5.
Yeah, a 4x5 camera, handheld. And then by mistake, I made a double exposure, and I felt so intrigued by it, so that I started to do nothing but double exposure for a long time, like 10, 12 years.
Like this photograph we're looking at, the tables outside.
Yes. That it almost doesn't look like it's a double exposure, but it's you can actually see the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center in the background.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's right.
But it's not. It seems like it's a reflection from the window, but it's actually a completely different direction, and you know, put on top of the photograph of the table cloth.
Yeah, interesting.
So
the city of New York is almost a co-author of the images.
Yes.
And time itself, of course.
And the history now makes that photograph special.
Very much.
More special, probably.
Helene, would you like to comment that before we go into the next one? Would you like to comment this work of Doug in New York? Because it's so different from many other of his the other series.
Well, they are very different. To me, they are his period with the street photography. And I have never seen any images from the streets than from New York. I've never seen you doing anything from the streets of Oslo, for instance.
No. I have to start to do that.
Yeah, but there something must have happened in New York that that drew you out on the streets.
Yep.
And while in Norway you mainly see nature.
Yes.
Am I right?
Here I'm very involved with nature now. I have several different projects that involve nature.
Yes, and you have been for a very long time. The Summer Lights series started in the beginning of the 80s.
Yes.
81.
Yes. Yeah, late 70s also.
The Summer Light?
Yes. Yes, I started that in, I think, 77. And then,
Well, nature in Norway, I think we can make a comparison to the Amazon in Brazil. You know, of course, they have very different natures, but
Yes.
it's very overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very present in the everyday life.
Yes. Very few people and a vast landscape.
Yeah, very few people. But there are also quite few people in your pictures, your street photography, I think.
Yeah, I guess I've concentrated on people and their relationship to buildings a lot.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah, which is something in it's very present in New York. You know, New York, those tall buildings in beautiful buildings like Empire States, Chrysler buildings, and the Twin Towers when they exist, and so many, the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. There's so many incredible buildings in New York, which is something very peculiar too. Okay, that's Palladio, right?
It's the house.
Okay. Yeah, that was. It happened because I actually took, a rare vacation and stayed in an apartment in Venice. And by accident, there was this book about Palladio in the apartment. And I've been interested in Palladio for a long time. And I just suddenly realized that, hey, I'm in Palladio country because most of his villas are very close to Venice. And then I decided, instead of continuing the vacation or rather to do what I like most, I rented a car and went to look at the buildings and, found them. And I was so intrigued by these buildings in reality that I decided to go back to Norway and load up my 52 kilos of equipment and go back.
Go back to Italy.
To Italy. So I had already, scouted out the locations, and I, just decided to go down and, photograph the places that I had seen, and so I went straight to those buildings and started to work. And I worked around in the Veneto area of Italy for about 2 weeks.
And Venice at that time was a very, very important trading port. Venice and Florence, right, were two of the most important cities in the world.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And people were very wealthy, and you can see from these buildings, these, and also the churches in Venice, that there was an enormous amount of wealth. Some of these buildings are enormous, and others are smaller. Some people had more resources than others, and but I didn't. My intention was not to make a documentary photographs about Palladio or to document his buildings. My intention was more to find an image that in a way mirrored some sort of mental state.
So we're back to meditation.
Exactly.
Exactly. So what we're seeing now is one that has the bushes in the back and has a small statue, half naked, and
yeah, I mean that is from a villa called Villa Rotunda, which is his most famous building. And it's very symmetrical, except for the statues. And this statue of a woman seen from behind, with her behind naked, and it obviously people have touched it. That's why it's so white. So even if it's a statue, you know, it's this this urge to touch. And so it's in a way, it's a sensual and a little bit, you know, sort of curious, and just, you know, not a joke, but you know, so it's I think it's a sweet photograph in a way.
Yeah.
Can I add a detail, which I think is amazing? When you told me that there's actually 5 meters down from the statue to the ground, so to be able to go out there and touch the statue, there is a risk.
Yes.
It's really high, and still.
Yeah, still, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right, Helene. Yeah.
Yeah, a big attraction.
Yeah. Yes. Funny, you know, and sweet.
Yeah, a small behind, but a big attraction.
Exactly.
Some things never change, Doug.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's about foliage and time, and how the foliage, the branches, the leaves, you know, are almost taking over the building. If you see the real photograph, it's almost three-dimensional, because it's so sharp and so it's like organic in a way, and so it gives this three-dimensional feeling.
Even though it's one big, huge mass of foliage.
Yes. Yes.
So this is racing, Doug.
Oh yeah, the reason. That's an interesting story.
Yeah, that's another project. It's a photograph of the engine, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So at what point, I mean, basically from childhood, like, you know, as a boy, I was always interested in cars, but I never had the possibility of going into that interest. I was always completely absorbed and you know, compelled by photography, and I didn't have time for much else. But you know, when I became like almost 50, I was crazy enough to buy a very special car called Lancia Delta Integrale, which is a very fast car. And it was so, I mean, I was really, it was pretty wild buying this car. And I thought, at some point, I thought, this is so crazy. It must be an art project. And I started to think of the whole car experience as an art project. And I got together with these people, these mechanics, and my mechanic and another driver. We were 3 people on a team. And I decided to work and make it into an art project. And I didn't know what it would be, or you know, how it would develop. But basically, we decided to start to race and we built a race car from scratch. You know, we took an ordinary station wagon and removed as much weight as possible and put it in a roll cage, and we built this engine that you see that I made this photograph. And before we put it into the car, I made that photograph. Then we put the engine into the car, and I raced the car with that engine. And so I became a part of a motorsport community in a way, you know, and then motorsport racing environment. And I decided also to photograph different racetracks around the world. And I went to, especially, there is one racetrack which is like very famous and almost like Mecca to motorsport interested people. It's called Nürburgring, Nordschleife. And it used to be a Formula One circuit, but it became so dangerous because there were no safety zones. You could just, it was, or it is 23 kilometers long. And it has 147 hilltops and curves. And the Formula One cars basically flew up into the air because there were hills. So they've stopped doing Formula One there, but there are other races, and all car manufacturers test their cars there. And also you can drive it just with your ordinary car and drive as fast as you like. So a lot of people do that, but it's a legendary circuit. So I photographed, you know, I took photographs at the Nordschleife, and I raced the car, and then finally I decided that I was ready to do this as an exhibition, and we exhibited the car.
Oh, the car you built with your friends.
Yes, and also photographs, you know, from the environment and from the repair shop, and you know, from the racetracks, and you know, even calendar girls. We had calendar girls up on the wall too.
Really?
Like every, you know, the famous Pirelli calendar. So that was I had that show in a museum in 2012. After you know, working on that idea for 12 years basically.
And the book.
And the book.
And you published it. Yes.
Yeah.
And Dag, is interesting that racing challenges time.
Yes.
You got to go faster and faster, you know. And like we mentioned before, photography is all about time.
Yes.
But instead of going faster into time, you want to freeze time.
Yes, but it's interesting.
It's an interesting relationship.
It's interesting because, you know, when you race, there's this one point where you go, you know, top speed and going into a curve, a corner, and basically you have to brake as absolutely as late as possible. And it is this moment where every fiber of your body tells you to brake, but then you have to, you know, wait, and that time, you know, I think it's some sort of heightened awareness, almost like ecstasy, and in a way, time is standing still. You know,
like a photograph.
Like a photograph, you know, for those tenths of a second where you really want to brake.
Doug, I think I'm never going to drive a car same way as before.
Right. Now you wait. You just
now I wait.
Wait until you barely make the curve.
I think I'm going to drive my wife crazy.
Yeah. When I started being a passenger with these guys that became my very close friends, I thought I was going to die.
Really?
I was sitting in the back seat, and this guy was driving so fast. If you have ever, if you've been in a rally car, if you're in a rally car for the first time, they drive, and these cars are so well made, and these guys drive so fast that you don't think that it's possible. You think that I thought I was going to die. I thought, okay, all right, I'm going to die.
This is it.
Sitting in the back seat, driving. Actually, that was in Sweden on a very, and I wasn't sure that I could trust the driver, but he did well,
Yeah. But he drove on the edge of madness.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and Doug, I think we have a couple more photographs here of your show on the museum.
Yeah.
Let's put that up. That the show you did on the museum, I think the summer. How many series you showed in this exhibition?
And it had like I think 180 works. So that was huge, and it had most of my different series. So maybe 10, 15 different projects.
So but now also, you're showing the asylum book. Oh, okay. And here's the racing images. There you see the engine that we saw before. The car. And here's from Bilsa, Björk, and New York in the background. Yeah, 200 images for the museum exhibition. Large show. Summerlight pictures. Summerlight pictures as well. And I don't know how much time we have, but you also did an art project during this exhibition related to chess.
Yes.
Yes. Talk about that. We still have a few minutes. And after you talk about this, I would like you to comment a phrase that you mention every now and then, which is a beautiful phrase about minor rights, which is the sound of one hand clapping.
Yes.
You try to convey that feeling into your photograph. I think that's beautiful. The sound of one hand clapping.
Yes. That's a nice phrase. It's in a way it means the same as photographing nothing. I think it's about meditation. It's all about that. But let's talk about the chess project, because I'm a photographer. I love photography. I've been hooked on silver printing since I was 10 years old. I actually was, I was supposed to be a doctor, and I studied medicine. And I started actually assisting as a surgeon, but I could not continue. I had to do my photography. But I'm not, I work slowly, but I'm not like someone who photographs every day. And I do projects and I decide to photograph, especially now that I'm getting older. When I was younger, I always had a camera and sometimes took photographs, but I'm not someone like, for instance, Lee Friedlander, who photographs every day and makes 20 silver prints before breakfast.
Before breakfast.
Before breakfast. I know his daughter very well, Anna Friedlander, and she told me that he makes actually his prints before breakfast. I'm not that kind. I need to do different things. So that's, for instance, why I started the racing project, and also it's how I started my chess project. And actually, the Henry Onstad Museum, they wanted me to do retrospective, but they also wanted me to do a new project. And I decided I had just started working on my chess series. And I decided, well, I mean, I was working on the idea, how to present chess, which is a big interest of mine. I was always a chess player, but I never had the time to really go into it. But I was always interested and I've always had a great pleasure in playing chess. And of course, Magnus Carlsen is the world champion. And in Norway, Norwegian television has managed to make chess a TV sport.
Oh, really?
You wouldn't believe it, but when Norwegian television sends, when they present the world championship in chess, almost, a lot of people are really interested and watching very closely. So with this new interest in chess and in chess on TV and in Norway, it fired my personal interest in chess, and I decided to do it an art project, just like the racing project. And I wondered what to do, and I thought, why don't I play Magnus Carlsen on the opening? So I started to, that would be like running against Usain Bolt.
That is close to impossible.
Impossible to beat Magnus Carlsen. But I decided I wanted to maybe try to do that. And I took lessons from his old coach, his old teacher. And I thought about the idea, and I thought, I asked him if he would do that, if he would play against me, and he said, sure. But then I thought, maybe it's not so interesting.
I'm going to get my ass kicked.
Exactly. And maybe it wouldn't be that interesting to the people watching. I mean, But then I thought, so why don't I have someone play Magnus? And then I learned that there is a form of chess called Fischer random chess. We call it Fischer chess now. And it's a form of chess that Bobby Fischer invented. And it's the chess pieces are put out according to random. I mean, the pawns are where the pawns should be, but all the officers are put up at random. And there was a world championship arranged, I think maybe in around 2010 in Germany, and Hikaru Nakamura won that championship. So he was the unofficial world champion in Fischer chess. And I wondered if it would be possible to arrange a world championship inside my exhibition. And for a long time, I couldn't raise the money because, it was, a very expensive affair. But finally, I got that together, and they played the second unofficial world championship in Fischer chess inside my show, and it was shown on Norwegian television for 20 hours.
20 hours, really?
Yes, all of it. And more people watched this event than watched the Winter Olympics.
Really?
It happened at the same time. Can you believe it? All of Norway were watching these people play inside my show.
What an incredible story! I mean, it's something that has to do with a popular culture, and we can think of photography as popular also.
Yes.
It's an intersection there.
Yes.
TV, chess, photography. That very, very interesting.
And also,
I think we are running out of time.
Yes.
And please, Doug, would you like to say a few more words, and Len too, if so we can wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Paula. It's been an honor to participate in your festival, and we're really looking forward to watch. It's there in a week's time, I think, from now. I'm really looking forward to the festival.
Yeah, it'll be a couple of weeks from now, and we'll let you know. And I hope we can meet sometime soon and play some chess, maybe.
Yes. Do you play chess?
Or race a car.
Yeah.
But
that's a good idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, but it's not advisable to do both at the same time. Drive a car and play chess.
No.
Okay, thanks very much once more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.